Sanje Chonam Forji Chonam Chanju Badu Dagni Josuchi Dagi Jinso Kipe Sonam Gola Benji Sanje Tupasho. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Sangha, I take refuge until enlightenment. By the merit of practicing the paramitas, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. Senjam Tamje Dewa Tam Dewe Yudam Dembar Dirshi Dunga Dunga Judan Tawa Dirshi Dunga Mebe Dewa Dambada Dewa Dirshi Yerin Jada Nihan Kawe Manyam Jandola Dewa Dirshi. May all beings be happy and have the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never lose their ultimate happiness, free from sorrow. May they be free from attraction, aversion, and bias, and remain in great equanimity. This retreat is about WhiteTara, as you all know. This evening I will try to say some source of Tara, general Tara, and WhiteTara, source of Tara, and as well as some stories, some interesting stories, some not very interesting stories. But basically, tonight is about a story, okay? Sometimes it is good to talk about stories. So I'm not very comfortable with my English, with telling stories, and I will use translator. And also, I don't have many expression. To tell story, you have to have expression. Yeah, I have only one expression. So Adam will do much better. Now, can I speak together? Tajira, Toma, 최근에 진도선만에 장주가 선지에 예정을 했습니다. 아니, 다 장주가 선지 말아서 다 나와 최대는 믹세지를 믹세 스페셜. 네, 최가시 따와디야 말아서 나시지. 됐어고 나시지. 시에요지가 나지 장주가 선지 단다다 파샤. 네, 메인 가면 계속 나는 거. 양년 지하다 파샤지 장주가 선지 민디야 네 통화에 말해서 추가하시라. 따와디한테 서버드리잖아요. 가시는 인제다 장주가 선 근데 시기도 와 정말로 인제 거 얘네가 따와 서버시라는 얘기. 네, 아무래도 나와서 이제 봐라. 장주가 선 라딘 지난 양에 서버가 이제 서버들이 제일요
Chilla, and then one to my Chadu, yeah,
so generally, any kind of Dharma teaching that we're engaging in should always be embraced by bodhicitta, which is also called the altruistic mind of enlightenment. And the Buddhist tradition considers bodhicitta to be very, very special, a very special topic, a very special thing. But in the vastness of Dharma, some teachings have a very profound view, or contain very profound teachings on the view, and yet don't touch the topic of bodhicitta, or don't contain the topic of bodhicitta. And some other topics or aspects of the Dharma really emphasize, love and compassion, but don't contain particularly clear explanations of the view. And so these are two important features of the Dharma.
Unique
So we can say, sort of, in the large scope of Buddhism, bodhicitta has a very important and special place in all of Buddhist teachings. Dumele, Kora Dumele Jamsole, Jabi, Teneta Tuaji, and Tichiku Chigi and Jalu Sanchaviva. Masanjan Tanje, and Kora Dumele Tatubaji Sogi, Tichiku Chigi Chanju Sanchaviva. Chalmara. Then the Panga Targobulana, Ne Sanjan Tanje. 아니 코아드면 타와 제네 산지를 설거기 대바다 산지를 설거기 코란 동네니야 타니 산지를 설거기 삼일레비 expect 이 그래서 이제는 자주 있습니다. 다른 주 드라마를 주디 나슈 고마소르면라 되게 자주 있으면 지고 그래서 그래서 요즘 드라마기 Ramadi Chushu, and one top of the Chivatia. Not another disease, the same chitana, Pepadajan in the bodies, Giordin, and Jacheva, not Cheva. And the Sanjay is combined to it, Gurun Dotua, and the name of it. Tense. Chani Pasanani, Korole Dora, Tamaimba, Digi Tora Sani, Salat, Gigi, Kodola Chatsan, Chikti, Korole Dron, Chikti Sanjay Salat. And then Sanjay Damje, Kuala Jogi, Law Chibuji, Ninja, Sanju Semare. That's right. Sanju Sembe Gulana, and Sanjay Tamji, Sanjay Kuala Tani. Sanjay Combat, Lanamigo, Sanjay Combat, Giving some legacy,
사무실에서는 자주 생각하고 있어요.
So this topic of bodhicitta actually has many dimensions. We talk about relative bodhicitta, we talk about ultimate bodhicitta. Also, we have the distinctions between aspirational bodhicitta and enacted bodhicitta. And so there's many aspects actually to the topic. So right now, this particular moment, we're focusing on relative bodhicitta. And within that, we're focusing on the aspirational bodhicitta. And this aspirational bodhicitta has two crucial aspects. The first is the wish, the thought, or the intention to free all sentient beings from the ocean of suffering, from the ocean of samsara. But that's not enough. Just that does not qualify as bodhicitta. That is what's called compassion, the wish or the urge to liberate beings from suffering. On top of that, we need an additional element. The additional element is the having liberated them from the ocean of suffering, I want to establish all of them on the level of complete enlightenment or Buddhahood. So that additional element is necessary. And that's what distinguishes compassion from bodhicitta. So this topic of relative bodhicitta, I wanted to bring it up before we start talking about Tara and the Dharma of Tara. Because if we're going to be receiving teachings on Tara, if we're going to be receiving empowerment of Tara, and if we're going to be listening to stories and so forth about Tara, then we should begin by generating this special mind of bodhicitta. And if we do that, we can say that the benefit of studying and practicing Tara will be much greater. The virtue will be much faster, more powerful, and the potential of the practice will be able to remain for much longer.
Kan dili sem jacheji jeyo maris.
Nasu.
Tana sem tham 직장 말해봐. 보안이 타기 타로마세 타투 비싸 산지 고만 거기. 그 딜리 sem jacheji. 이거 말해서 단상도 다 이거 말해서. 근데 상로 되나신 이 sem제 디럼기 자치문이 저우들이야 탐이지. 산지 고만 더 되네스. 아무 sem제디 타이요지. 리미티지. 이러지 못하면은 저우디야 타이요지. 마도 탐해봐. 아니지. 타투 비싼지 고만 가서 뭐 이렇게 더 해서 가려고 그랬어.
So this really vast mind, this really vast intention, is not something we usually have. We don't usually create that vast of an intention or an aspiration, which is not only do I wish to liberate all beings without a single exception from the ocean of samsara, but I also want to establish every single one on the final level of complete Buddhahood. So with that kind of vast intention, then when we engage in something, there's the possibility that the result can also be limitless, because the intention that preceded it was limitless. Of course, this is not normally what happens. Normally we have a much more limited aspiration. And because of having a more limited aspiration, that limits the results actually that come from our engagement. And so the sort of limitless result that it can slowly develop into
a kind of virtue that can lead towards the final level of Buddhahood is normally not there. And so this is important.
So that's why bodhicitta is a seed of enlightenment. So we are putting the seed, sowing the seed. Is it sowing the seed? Sowing a seed. Planting a seed. Okay, so ready? We go. So now can we go to Tara? Tara, Tana, Tana, Maranzu deities later. Deities later. La. Deity, deity. I always say deity. That's very difficult for pronounce well. So deities, yeah, deities. Ta Marazu Nambagi deity yeah, this Chabaris, Shimbagi. Marazu Lagone, Idamde Lagone,
Yes.
Tenzo di Shimbanashi, Jidin Kokorela, Sama Dilarali, Lado. Ani Yabuchina, Gagri, Bubuchina, Chabajagri, Yara, and then over Marisra. Marandu the Tomato, then the Pomon also, then the Yamichi, Yamichi was a 10 year, and social similar. Juratan.
Yes.
Juratan name. Getting down, Dorin Lasoba. And then a 10 year, and then do good Lasoba. The Tawada, Chibi, Palitron, Tachini, Palitron, then Tatu, do good Toba. Or the Navy, Yamela, Lamjila. The minds in the decor, yes. The southern latest practice.
That's okay. So that brings us to this issue of deities. So the Buddhist concept of deities is, I think, different than certain other religious traditions, concepts of gods and so on. And so when we talk about, meditating on a yidam deity, meditating on a meditational deity, this is quite different than certain other traditions who talk about like a creator god or creator gods, where everything relies on the gods, and if you're goody-goody, then the god likes that, and if you do bad things, and the god gets displeased and punishes you. So that kind of concept of a creator god is very different than the Buddhist concept of a deity. In this case, for Tara, for example, in this particular deity, to practice Tara has the power to transform our mind, to change the way our mind works. And so through the practices of Kirin and Dzogchen, development stage and completion stage, we can achieve the result, which is the two kayas. And we can liberate ourselves from the misunderstandings of clinging to permanence and clinging to nothingness, and go beyond those viewpoints, those extreme viewpoints, and achieve the ultimate result or fruition. And so that's what's possible in this kind of system.
Tana Maranzubi, Tara la Kishta, Jesutuma.
That's so.
아니 제대로 먼저 좋고
That's so.
딱 고송이 하고 봤었다고
그래.
아니 사실 먼저 좋고
That's so.
자오데스 아 먼저 좋고 자오데스
That's so.
아니 이게 어디 안 주고
That's so.
그래서 아니 먼저 좋고 때문에 아니 수고 나네 밑줄고 도만이 식사치 나서 아니 줄리는 선생님들 노래를 대한제다 이제시마 다 되는데서
조금 수사치 고소 차선이 저신조마 노트소데 그래 샤야
다 줄고 제대로 줄줄이 일자지라서 줄
That's so.
무슨 일인데 노래 대체고래서
That's so.
아니 먼저 좋고 됐다 말했다가 이제 좀 하니 방송 송주 공부라
That's so.
먼저 비치 용서 소리가 어디 되시라다 먼저 좋고
That's so.
어떻게 나고 그랬어
That's so.
근데 이게 어디 아니 쳐주고
That's so.
다 쳐주고 뒤 아니 말하자면 쌤 동바들 이수다
That's so.
쌤이 동네 모제가
That's so.
한테를 집어라고 그랬어 아니 뭐 저자래 가리
그래. 우리 다 지탄이 윤직
다 되는 말 야면 되면 당하라가 질라셔 나이 질라셔
That's so.
다 말하고 나다 제준 좀아디 아니 공을 가서 완전히 어떤 구순들마다 레이저를 쓰래
야오래.
야신설에
어서 팽기네.
네.
So I think first it would be useful to maybe introduce the concept of the three kayas to be able to relate to Tara and the forms. So in one sense we say, what is Tara? Tara is a Sambhogakaya form. Tara has achieved the Sambhogakaya dimension of enlightenment. And so what is the essence of the Sambhogakaya? It's the Dharmakaya. And so from the Dharmakaya, the form kayas emanate. One of them is the Sambhogakaya, and the other is called the Nirmanakaya. In this particular case, the Nirmanakaya dimension is the 21 Taras manifesting. And the Sambhogakaya element is the indivisibility of appearance and emptiness. That's the Sambhogakaya form of Tara. And the essence of that is the Dharmakaya. The Dharmakaya is connected to the indivisibility of mind and emptiness, whereas the dimension of emptiness that is indivisible with mind. It's also called the nature of mind.
Are you understanding? How much?
Yeah.
Whole thing? Little bit?
How about the last bit?
다들 난 말한 적이 있니? Tanyaming Chia Chilora, Sadana,
Yes, sir.
the Yaming Chia di, and it, oh, Kalaway, rather low, Sweeney, me, Lady, just the Manasi. was under the lady, Monjazur Kutukora,
Yes, sir.
Monjazurku, Yaminchi or Dredi Yaminchimora,
Yes, sir.
Yaminchi with the vessel, and I was with Lady. She's under my Nelula, and she's under my Nandi, and the Yamara. Mama, Nango, Chala Nango, Tamaso, Madaba did know was Nango, and a Nelula, I'm not a Jesus money. Maybe look at Jesus the money. And I'm not in Wadi, and Jesus the money. I'm not on the Sunday, and Jesus the money. Sunday, yes, on the money. Sunday, no, Lord, so over so can't go over this. I think Gombala Teni came away this. I think Gombala Teni. So, then I am the mother now. I was the quality in the now the mother now Teni. And it God do get to Mangoji and no daddy. Now, Madaba and Teni, you were and the Tana Jantua. Suzurani, traditionally, you marry some Tabi now and Jantua.
Yes, sir.
Tabi now and Jantua, Teni, the Madaba is more than she to Tagati Ramsi. And the Mary, and the money Sanini, so some money, Mojozu, cook, Tomana change, isn't it? Or that the legal cover the children, Yamichi, and this cover the
Yes, sir. So in this sadhana that we will study and learn this weekend, what are we actually doing? The purpose of the sadhana is actually to accomplish the Sambhogakaya. That's the purpose of the sadhana, to accomplish the Sambhogakaya. And what does that mean? It means that while practicing the sadhana, we are training our perception to see ourself as Tara. And what does that mean? It means that although, of course, we don't appear now yet as Tara, because we think that we're, I'm me and you're you, everybody's in their ordinary form. Actually, it's a recognition that the underlying nature of who we are is actually Tara. In our underlying nature, we are Tara. And that's the basis of the practice. So our body is also Tara, the true nature. Our speech is also Tara. And our mind is ultimately indivisible with Tara. So that's the view in which we practice the sadhana. So in another sense, we can say that the purpose of the sadhana is to purify our impure perception. Because impure perception creates a lot of problems for us. They have a lot of like and dislike and sorrow and joys also. But a lot of problems come from impure perception. And so we're training in pure perception. We're training in, it is possible to train in pure perception. And there are many, many benefits of doing so, according to the tradition. And so we're training to see our own body, our own speech, and our own mind with the view or with the lens of pure perception. And eventually, if we keep doing that, and we train ourselves that way, one day we can manifest the Sambhogakaya ourselves, like Tara did. And then actually we'll be indivisible from Tara at that point.
다 추주쿨 다 찍마래요 말아. 이 말아.
That's
되는데 말한들이 다다리 추주쿨다. 네. 추주쿨한다 생기는 나오라 생기는. 아니 따라디 추주쿨. 다 안사지 쉐바 탐지 이 추주쿨라니 뭐지그레스 이와지에 말이스 봐.
That's
네 주와에 말이스.
That's
유라산이 말이스.
That's
도르도에 말이스. 야르타에 말이스. 가네 요나데레스. 아. 캘리포니아 나시나시레스.
So the Dharmakaya, so there's only one Dharmakaya. The Dharmakaya is not divided or separate. So our Dharmakaya, so to speak, which is also called the nature of our mind, is not different than Tara's Dharmakaya, or the Dharmakaya essence of any Buddha, any realized being. They're all the same. The Dharmakaya has a single essence, which is not divided. It's not separated, and it never changes. The Dharmakaya is unchanging. So this means it never gets worse. It never improves. It's just always the same, always like it is, like the weather in California.
Not like Colorado weather. Especially recent, past few days. Okay, and the are you bored? 아니 다 추지꾸라 이와요 말에 유라요 말에
That's it.
다 이나비 투모 메나비 다 제존 로마데이네 다 지나 다고 말하지마 로직을 뭐 하시나 말하지마 신데다 지금 봐봐 다 로직을 신앙을 들으래서 봐 지금 로마데 아니 디두가서이나 최주꾸라 주라 차에 말
That's it.
무슨 로마데 최주꾸라 주라를 말아
That's it.
아디 드레마 이나비다 말하지마 신이 지금 탐다가 그러시래 아니 모란디네 람나 수연이 아니 최주꾸 무슨 통 아니 최주꾸 무슨 통에 선진 신이들 수고나가니 먼저 그거다 들고 뭐다들 되고네 로덴치 가르치는 신임에 다들 로직 이런 이유에서
That's it. So that's how it is, and we say that the Dharmakaya is indivisible and unchangeable. So that's always the case. And in terms of the history, Tara was at a certain point in history just like us. In other words, ordinary being. Of course, even at that time, because the Dharmakaya is indivisible and unchanging, the Dharmakaya was exactly the same at that time. But still, Tara was in was like us, was a completely ordinary being. And then she practiced the path, and she practiced the path diligently, and got to the point where she directly saw or manifested the Dharmakaya in her direct experience. And once that happened, from that she was able to manifest Sambhogakaya and Nirmanakaya forms, countless forms, to benefit beings. And so that's basically the overview of what she did.
Not so good.
Not so good.
Yes, sir. What the negative change come? That the Kalbama millions of eons, millions of eons before. Long time ago. Not just long time ago. Very, 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 very long time ago. So many, many eons ago. Tara did the Jaboji Pomo.
Yes.
Mingla this. Sena, Yeshida, Morani Sena, Princess Rida. The Najida Kaba Jibing come Tamara, Jibing come Villa, Color Zambil. Then I should take up so that Jibing come Villa, Nazo like this. Or the David means you. And then take up the Tijishiba, Nadala, Nagitariva. Drums, sound of drums. Tijishiba, Nadala. Shugusarva. Tijishiba, Mada. And then take you continue that Tambo, Chanju, Jodu, then Tambo, the Jina. Tijishiba, Mada. Chanju, Chanju, Sanji. Sanji, Sanji. All the nation in me, Katrin Yamaji, Train Yamaji, the Hamilton and Mosul. Mangala, Egypt, Jiruga, Mountain, Jiga. Only all the nation in the Tana, Yeshida and again, Mora, Chanju, the Sanji, all the nation in me, Tam mixé gi morali ta sen je di ta mixé tumu mai gi sen kare ji je du la na ane wa ane maoba san je ve ne ko se ya ane pime gi te de ga na ka ne na san je ne ane sen je du te chi ona te le mixé ni sen je do
Yes,
the real feminist. She's the Tara is the first feminist, as we know. And he will tell you how she is feminist. Feminist, huh?
Yeah. So the story of Tara happened in a faraway place long, long ago. And this place was called Variegated Light, the name of this world. Like our world is called the Earth. This world was called Variegated Light, and that's what we're doing. And that was the name of that world, and this was many, many eons ago. And Tara, at that time, was born as a princess, as the daughter of a king, and her name was like which is moon of wisdom. So at that time, there was a Tathagata, a fully enlightened being, whose name was Sound of Drum. Drum sound.
Sound of drum.
Sound of drum.
Drum sound. Drums sound.
Drum sound. So in front of this Buddha drums sound, she first gave rise to bodhicitta in the presence of that Buddha and started her practice. And so that's the sort of origin of her path. And she made a very special aspiration, which was that from then on, in the future, when I become enlightened, from then on, I will always appear in the female form and benefit beings in that way, therefore cementing her status as the original feminist.
Enlightened as a female form. Authenticity. I call this. Authenticity. 감자레스.
That's
근데 딱 좋냐면서니 authenticity. 아니 미제비추. 추어를 써봤다. 나는 다 되지. 미제비 추어를 써봤다. 미제비 추어를 써봤다를 딱 고발을 나야 미제비. 근데 다 공부하는 또 뭐라. 미제비 추어를 써봤다.
미개와다.
나 미제와. 나야 고라를 미제비. 뭐다 되지. 야면은 영어라서 미제와.
That's
되리다. 네버도 싶어.
that's Chimiyawa.
처음이요다.
That's
되리서 봤다. 아니 좋아하는 다 띵엔즈는 명만 보여라.
that's
띵엔즈는 아니 먹으라. 되나지니 좋아처럼 띵엔즈니 좋아 선진이라 좋아 절베기 좋아해. 원데리 띵엔즈 줄지.
that's
아니 니모를 나오라. 니모 셈제 제와마고 아니 농행이야 타와지. 그 제모에 내가 그 농행 타비 내가 신감나서 그래야 그
that's
어가 되리니 동행치네 지르레스와
that's
어들리니까 동행치레스 셈제 받는 게 동행치레스 어들리니 어느 뭐라고 미는 드마를 되는 거
that's
드마는 들다나 야 리브레치 올라오라
that's
근데 뭐 미치를 쉬어서 또 근데 셈제 담주 좋아 줄을 띵이지 근데 띵이지는 아니 띵이지 줄지 근데 지 또기 너무 셈제 담는 데가 되는 노면이야 좀 아니 세모에 그 대화를 근데 미치에 제와 근데 코로나 때문에 드마를 또 되게 드마를 미니 또가 근데 사실 나 마다 되게 마다 쉬는 거 그 공기나 농대 아니 저랑 내 마음 봐 산제 차를 내가 쓰냐 저랑 단다야 미는 도마이 산제 차를 제라야 도마데스 라 근데 제가 선진 도도지에 가서 또 민대랑 그 터네 도마이 민이 터네 선진 도지에 나 농대스
So that was her pledge, and with that pledge she practiced. She practiced very well, and she attained the type of patience, such a profound patience that she never had to be reborn in samsara again. that kind of attainment, and a profound accomplishment of patience. And then also, there's many kinds of samadhi in practice, and one of them is called the samadhi that can liberate beings. And so she attained that particular kind of samadhi, samadhi that can liberate beings. So then it was said, with this kind of accomplishment, that during the day she would just liberate beings from suffering. She would help beings get out of suffering, and then at night she would, send them to Pure Lands, or deliver them to blissful realms.
Place them to serene place.
So basically, she benefited beings in kind of inconceivable, in countless ways. And that's how she got the name Droma, which is the Tibetan word for Tara. Droma means the liberator. So she got this name because of attaining this kind of patience, attaining that kind of samadhi that liberates beings, and then her activity of liberating beings all night and pleasing beings, liberating beings all day and pleasing beings all night by leading them to Pure Lands and so forth. And so then she got that name, Droma, or liberator. And so then that Buddha of that era, whose name was Drum Sound, gave a prophecy and said, now you're practicing as a bodhisattva and you have the name Droma, and in the future, when you attain Buddhahood, you will also be known as the name Droma, Tara, and then when you perform countless enlightened activities to benefit beings, you will also be known as Droma or Tara. So he made that prophecy.
So that is her permanent name. Permanent, unchanged. Then the jail, kalpa number jelwal kalpa china. Kalpa manzu kalpa tsigiro. Kalpa kale iyan mega. Ya. Ini tanda manzu kalpa di kare. Kalpa sambora. Kalpa sambora. Sanji shaji tu pedi tanda chue manu ni diwa. Dile da kalpa sambora. Sanji tongtani. Dile da kalpa sambora. Ini kazu kalpa di minga disa. Number zero. Kalpa mingo. Number zero. And the dusuya. Sanji Tsenya, Toyotuba. Sanji Tsenya, Toyotuba. Take Tozuya, Duma. Lavia Jizumaya, Sanji Toyotuba, Kunduni, Sem Yan Nibaji, Semji Nibaji. Munga Semjia, Tazoni, Jipada. Jipada never Jackie in a yes. Oh, what did Jackie in the Semjichua? The legend the Lambda Chuen Yamsule, the legend in the Kazurane, or Dubon Jombe Tingensina. Do Gipung, do Lena Mara, okay. So, do Gipung, do Gipung, the Jombe thing is the thing is in a minimum word, that's what is it. Then Namin House of Era. That's whether the Bon Jombe thing is in Latin, Mora, the Juliet. The Juliet, and then Semjan Pablo, Meba, Archeda, Nevada, and Jipaera, Jipania, Jani. And the decoration, you're the work in the Chires. The ritual of Tenny, and the Koran Tsena, the Magazine, Minshaba, Nurmapa Mos. Nurmalana, Swift. Nurma. Nurma Ladigoso, Swift. Pamoladi, brave. Nurma, Jesu Roma, you say Shambati, Nurma Pamoleva. On the legend, I mean, Nurma Pamu, the top where Junzendi, and the rest.
So then later on, in her series, in her mind stream, during the kalpa that was known as completely victorious. So there's all these kalpas in Buddhist cosmology. Like right now we call it, we're in the fortunate eon, fortunate kalpa, in which there's 1,004 Buddhas, and all of their lifespan and teachings will be contained in this eon. But there's many other eons as well. And so in another one that was known as completely victorious, there was a Buddha that was called Doyen Drupa, sort of accomplisher of the wishes of beings. And in front of that Buddha, she again arose a special bodhicitta in the presence of that Buddha, special aspiration. And at that time, she specifically aspired to protect beings from fear, harm, and specifically fear. I will protect beings from fear with my enlightened activity. So she made that aspiration very specifically. And then she kept practicing, and she attained another kind of samadhi. Again, there's many kinds of samadhi. And this particular one was called the samadhi that conquers the hordes of maras, or the hordes of demons. So that kind of samadhi was born in her mind stream. And based on that, she was able to protect countless beings from the suffering of fear. And so at that time she got another nickname, which was called
main name.
Another name, which was Nirma Pamo. Nirma means sweet. And
Swift.
Oh, swift.
Swift.
Yeah. Sweet. Swift.
We have in India we have a car which is Swift, Suzuki Swift, which is not Swift. Always takes time.
Pomo means powerful.
Pamo, brave. Bravery.
Yeah. Swift and brave. Oh, sweet.
So, feminist, liberator, swift, and bravery. Yeah? All the rest, all this. And you mabam. All the rest. The religion is Jadam, Kabakani, Lea, Sanjay the Shanjus and Bangamla, and Ninja, Tame on the Kaso, Mutuni, Kabakani, Jinea, Tajik, Dramadi, Sanjay to Machewachita, Chile, Madewachit, the Tani, Samaris, and a religion Shebuna. She has she right. The religion share one you might have seen it. So the cover Manguchilan, the relation, the Nashi, but other did soldiers and Jura, the Marichin, sending to awareness. But around to Zula, and college in Jelena. And a genesis. Tadagas, the condition, Mazo, the cover. 아니 제레스 아니 닌제 투 닌제 파도 내가 샘쟁기 도네도 생내로 아니 투 닌제 파도 내가 총을 가서 아니 전잡니 쇼래라 보다 전잡이요 전잡니 쇼래디 아니 니니디 너무 간다 너무 장군이 주소를 트랜스폼 차서
갖고다
정말 장군이 어디를 지니까 트랜스폼 차네 제레스기 조이기 된 지와라 로가는 근데 다 진행시다 그래서 잘해서 제대로 감 제레스기 가반데가 제레스기 투든이 있으면 신지 진이 주당대가 그래서 제레스기 년제 제반하시지 제레스기 년제기 로바타시 제레스기 년제기 틀레로와 제라는 로징 조징 뭐 되지기다 잘했어.
So like that, in countless, we can say all of the eons going back into kind of inconceivable time, Tara always performed great benefit to beings. There was never a kalpa where she did not continue to serve beings. But we won't name all of them and talk about what she did because there's way too many and we don't know. Anyway, so but those what we mentioned were examples of the kind of activity and practice that she had throughout time, which brings us to now, to the current kalpa that we're in and this present situation. And so in our present sort of eon, our present time, we have the great being Avalokiteshvara, whose enlightened heart felt sort of immeasurable, unbearable compassion for all beings. That was the heart or the mind of Avalokiteshvara. And based on that, he was able to protect beings. He became a protector of beings. And say that the then white and green Tara manifested into the world to help Avalokiteshvara's mission of benefiting beings through great compassion, sort of in the manner of the expression or in the manner of enlightened activity or Trinley. The white and green Taras manifested in order to help Avalokiteshvara benefit beings.
Two drops of tears transformed. It is said Avalokiteshvara was so sad and seeing the suffering of all the sentient beings, not just human beings, especially the hell realm and lower realms, and the trail, two drop tears roll down, roll on his cheek, and these two drops believe that transform into green Tara and white Tara to support the activities of Avalokiteshvara to liberate every single sentient beings from suffering. Right? Yeah? 네, 제가 조막이 주 망고에서 망고 타에서 말해. 공담하고 되듯이 조막이 더 많아. 어디를 먹고 주세요. Then Jina Sanji Shajitupati, Shajitupati, and Mali, Chopoko, that's all. Then the Maniju, Mamuchi Sula Sadet. The Lavardoni, Magi, Magi Kepa, Dujadi Manchesina, which I just Suzu Dujarenba, and Jana Channel Duji, Jeresi Lasso, and we say the Channel Dujina, and we on the 10. Magi, you should call Mamuchi, and Channel Duji top. One of the Mamuji and Mamuchi, the Channel Duji about Chato. Yes, all the Dichin, but the Dichin Taruma, the days. That I learned to do that. Not the church, but the Tarabis, then that being Naneta, Viola, Kamada, Temada, the Delia, Kaka, the Kashia, Kamada, as I shall give a name, Junior, Kashia, Temada. Up Kashia. Channel Dojelasoba, Sheji, Jelesilasoba, Sheji, Muslim Sheji, Pong, Roa, Muslim, you should talk, and the money which touch it. The name of this, anyone should have that. What the name of the other, the money, and let the time
and there are countless practices. Countless sadhanas like the one we have involving Tara. We can say countless tantras also that involve Tara, practice of Tara. And so in this particular time, of course, the Buddha of our time is Buddha Shakyamuni, and Buddha Shakyamuni taught many Tara practices. Many Tara Tantras, specifically in the Vajrayana or Mantrayana aspect of the teachings, or the Dharma wheel of Vajrayana, contains many Tara sadhanas. And so different bodhisattvas and beings served as recipients of these teachings, specifically like Vajrapani was an important recipient of tantras in general, and also Tara tantras in particular. So, in other words, Buddha taught many Tara tantras to Vajrapani, who then propagated them to the world. So, in this Mantrayana wheel of Dharma, or Vajrayana wheel of Dharma, we find Tara practices in abundance, both in the Kama and the Terma traditions. The Kama tradition is the unbroken lineage from Buddha down, master to master. And so there are many Tara practices in that lineage. And then the Terma lineage of discovered hidden treasures that are later discovered also contains many Tara practices and tantras. And so also many beings like Avalokiteshvara and Vajrapani and many other beings have directly seen the face of Tara in a pure vision.
Not Tara. Like Vajrapani.
Oh,
like Vajra.
Oh, Vajrapani, Chenezing, Sheje, Nidiki, Anita. Oh, okay, sorry. Many pure visions happen where they saw the face of Vajrapani or Chenrezig and received a Tara practice through that. Sorry. So in any case, there are countless Tara practices and sadhanas that exist now in the world at this time.
On the day, and Drama Tango, Drama Kavolana, Jambulana, Tamachibara, Nada, 팅레니 너무 장고도 또 간대신 가르고 그러면은 내 바지라서 봐. 내가 바지라서 봐. 근데 또 치료 너무 장고 또 그냥 지어라.
그래서
양지 세상 무대야다. 야, 세상 무대야다. 근데 치료야. 너무 가고 양이죠.
그래서
제가 말하는 거는 상황이 취해나가 체라는 손을 체라는 손 체비 라는 손
그래서
체라는 손들이 오늘 체밤에지 뭐지라 체밤에 가래
지금에서는 미타이스
아미다요 체밤에 남절마
남자마스는
남절마
What do you know the Sanskrit name for Namjama?
testing 3 long life deity, yeah? One is Amitayu, one is WhiteTara, and what is one? The third one. Ashni something. Yeah, Ashni something.
Actually something. So further.
Ashni Vijaya? Vijaya? Ashni Vijaya? I think, yeah. Ashni Vijaya or something, yeah. Ashni Vijaya, yeah. So, these three.
Yes.
And this is something Tselana Zong Zigura.
Yes.
This is the Tseg Fadu. Tseg Mudia, Tseg Fadis, yeah.
Yes.
And then children, direct Fadita, this one, yes.
Yes.
And then the Romaka would use a Tseg Area on the direct children. Chiguris.
Yes. 정말 신나는 소리야 미세
Is it the Lama? That's when you study.
자상
자기 맞.
진리를 요래서
요리 요자. 내가 장 라마 가다 장구리자 가오니 같은 거지.
So all the 21 Tara manifestations have the same essence. But when it comes to their chunmei, to their enlightened activity, there are differences in what they specialize in. So green Tara, for example, is known to specifically remove obstacles and harm. And so it's sort of like a repelling of obstacles and harm is the main purpose of such practices. Whereas WhiteTara is specifically known for long life, for extending our lifespan and removing obstacles to our life. So she is part of what's known as the three longevity deities, which are Amitayus, WhiteTara, and Ushni Vijaya.
Yeah, Ushni Vijaya.
Ushni Vijaya. Wow.
I win.
You go.
Vijaya. 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 Okay.
So in any case, long life deities are known to remove obstacles to our lifespan and to extend life. And so this is the main purpose of the, one of the main purposes of WhiteTara practice. And all of the 21 Taras have specific enlightened activities, but the green and the white are the main ones. So those are the ones we mentioned.
We need effort to transform impure perception. Okay. It's good. Half understand, half didn't understand. So, where now? Okay, Sabame. 아니 제가 단단히도 세정도 디아레라로다. 아니 아제 도야라다. 저로 저소니 초토모니 뭐 초도 토모니 뭐라.
그래서
따라서 라 가지 두네 이런 라 가지 두네야. 제부 그 바디 아니 그 바디 아니 내가 그바 소몽 그거다. 타도 그거 초공 소공도 다 상대적으로 공부도에 정말 공부도에 이해가 그래서 내가 통공 공부도 다 제대로돼야 아니 바제스야 되려고 하는 내가 대지 후지라고 말했어
알았어 그리니아니까 지지로
그래서 통공 공부도 제대로돼야 정말 장볼 때는 바제스야 되려고 얘는 초공부도 다 받아들이 주면야 맞아 나발라 다도 공부하는 게 좀마다 이즈면 좀
So although we talk about the you can say the siddhi, the power of having a long life, and also removing obstacles to our longevity, it's always important to keep in mind the larger context, which is that all these practices, including the WhiteTara practice, is for both, you say, common and supreme siddhis, ordinary and supreme accomplishments. And in this case, the worldly or common siddhi or accomplishment involves a long life and removing obstacles to our life and so on. Whereas the supreme siddhi or the extraordinary accomplishment is always connected to liberation and enlightenment. So it's never just that we do this practice just to have a long life. It always involves both the temporary benefit and the ultimate benefit. Temporary benefit is the worldly or common siddhis or accomplishments, which in this case is a long life. And the ultimate benefit is always connected to enlightenment and reaching the full enlightenment. So the purpose always involves both.
미조조디 아니 타도 그거디 아니 소소다 생긴내로 그리게해서
맞죠.
아니 다 생긴내로 그리토와이소나 최강직내로 그리토와이소나 안 도마테란도 되레스 아드미 단다다 조 테란레사 얘는 랑사 갑도지 되지네 다 레다 팔발라 때문에 못 매운데 아니 탐마고 질 때니 어느 소소비 감다 메바다 해비다 되는마고 질 때니 아니 다시마고 질 때니 되진다 누구의 차고를
So in a sense we can say the true underlying purpose of this practice is to become aware of our own mind essence, of the nature of our minds, which is also the nature of all phenomena. And if we're able to realize that, then that is also accomplishing Tara.
That is the real accomplishment of Tara, ultimate accomplishment of Tara, ultimate accomplishment of Genesis and all the deities. And that is the purpose, ultimate purpose of practicing every deity, whether it is rightful one or peaceful one, besides worldly deities. All the wisdom deities, purpose of practicing also, all the wisdom deities is to actually realize that, realize the true nature of your own mind. If we could realize that, then that's it. That is the ultimate purpose. That is the accomplishment of Tara practice. Yeah. truly accomplishment of Tara practice. So it is important to understand that. And then, yeah, what else?
Although that is the true aim and the true Tara accomplishment, not everybody has the opportunity or karma to approach that directly. And therefore, based on our constitution, our personalities, our different interests, there are all of these different approaches and methods, different sadhanas and so forth, that help move us towards that ultimate goal.
Then, that is the Makapo, the Chigore, Tongar. Then Tongar thing was Jidana Samadi, Maranda Masuna, and each one Yamin Chikazo, Tambo, the Makapo, the Yamin Chikachimure, the Seranguch. So the Seranguch Desuna, and Missana, Chodiva in the Direct, Kongirwa, the Zeragua, but the Little Govaltini, Mazu, Temde Masuna, Temde Dosini. Tambo di Seru Tonga, and the Chevy Lufuture. The Gazima Chigila Dona Santa, Tonga di Chigula,
So that brings us to WhiteTara. Basically, WhiteTara is generally the first sadhana that we receive and practice, because as the logic goes, if we ensure a long life, then we'll have time to practice a lot, do all the practice we want to do. We'll get that time. So that's considered to be important. It's kind of like an auspicious beginning to our practice, and this is within the tradition. That we start with that as an auspicious beginning. And so it is for that reason that the first Vajrayana practice that we're offering is the WhiteTara.
Maybe Yabi Rakabuchi. You call him Dilila. They know there is a Loma Munia and California before. No, Sanmata, they didn't enjoy a holy mother. Now that has some other from the church. I mean, you can't go to Komaya. Head the little pedra. The little pedin, all no use, should. I don't know. Which are the Dongar set of the years of summer. I'm going to go to India. I did it. The Yamashuga. I'm going to Sugar. Show me the Samatas. Oh, yeah. The legend. Tana, you want to know. Tonjo. The lady,
So, in the case of my own father, who was a Lama, was Rinpoche, he once was very sick, and he was in Delhi, and it was kind of like the kind of sickness that people were saying, he's not going to recover. This is a while ago, 30 or 40 years ago, so there was very poor medical facilities in Delhi, and he was quite sick, and he was there. And the previous Karmapa, 16th Karmapa, came to Delhi when he was there, and he saw him, and my father told Karmapa about his sickness, and Karmapa said, you should do retreat on WhiteTara. And so he immediately left Delhi and went back to his homeland and did a month retreat of WhiteTara.
Not homeland, Nepal.
Oh, Yamashu.
Parping.
And did a 1 month WhiteTara retreat there. And he recovered completely from that sickness. So there's something that I've seen myself and have direct experience with.
That's true. Really. Tana Rinpoche Dungsey la xiao. Jidan di Lagom Manda Chilpen, some Mishabayu, Chozore, and Nibata Masuna, we were. And I ended the Chapa Chigoya Manda. And Tajing Nian machine, thoughts of the Sanji Kumotra, the Mamivachambu child and the little mother. I should have shown the Gora. That's Yagura. And Manzo Michingama, when the Dulora, when the communists came to Lodicus. Kong Talamara, Lama. Maybe I should say in English.
Yeah,
Better. Yeah?
sure.
Try to show few expression. Hope it will be successful. So my father was a Rinpoche, and when the communist China came to Tibet, he fled there, right, from Tibet. And since he's a Rinpoche, all those who have high rank Rinpoches and those who are rich, they are first target, priority target is to catch them, these people. So, and my father was caught. He was caught and then he put in a prison, and and then in the Chinese prison, they are not supposed to, evening when they go to sleep, they are not supposed to tie the belt, tie the string, or what do you call thread? Get out. Belt. So they are not supposed to tie the belt. And one night, my father forgot to release, take out his belt, and because if you tie the belt means you can easily run away. Yeah? So they will not allow to tie belt. So you just in Tibetan dress you need a belt, otherwise it is like a rope. It will fly like this. Fly like this. So he forgot to tie the belt, take out the belt, and the what do you call it, the army guard came, and then he saw that he's still on that, and then he woke him up and say something in Chinese. How come you didn't tie? You trying to flee? You trying to run away? And then he called someone else, his friend, and then he was saying something to him like, look, he's trying to run away. And he was so mad, and then just shoot the pistol, this short distance, here, a pistol. And then just one time only. I think in China you can shoot one, and then if he die. If he didn't die, they don't repeat, I think so. So my father said he just fell down, and he didn't die. And when I was young, I saw he was telling that story, and then when I look at his teeth, teeth is still there, but it is twisted. Yeah. So he said that he have some difficulties for a few days, like swollen and having a pus, and unable to eat. So he had some difficulty. And afterwards, it's okay. Then he was hearing. He heard that they are talking, the Chinese, and they heard like tomorrow the prisoners, they are bringing them to the bigger prison in the cities. Then it would be very difficult for them to run away. So he heard. So my father, he thought that okay, tonight is the last chance. Otherwise, they will bring us to that big prison, and we will not be able to free, ever. And then he looked at prison. Then he saw small ventilation there, and then he jumped from there. Somehow he managed to jump, and he fall. It was quite high. He thought his leg was broken, when he fell. He stood up, nothing happened, and he ran away. Ran away. Unluckily, he caught again. Second time he was caught, and then he was caught, and then in the evening, my father was saying that they are supposed to, evening they will take for toilet break, go out and you can pee or whatever, but again, you are not allowed to tie the knots. And so my father went out, and he was, just pretending like he's peeing and taking time. And then the guard was staying a little bit further, the police or army, I don't know, a little bit further. And then he found the thread, kuba. He just grabbed that thread, and then he, immediately he tie and run away. And right there next, there's a big river flowing. Then he jumped in the river. And then the police were shouting where he is, and he was carried away by the river. So he's saying that the river was quite big, he don't know how to swim, and he thought even he fled free from China, but he will not free from the river, he thought. And then luckily, nearby his eyes, he saw something. He grabbed, and there is a branch, and then he crossed the river somehow. And then right after he jumped in the river, they shoot, the bullet. And then he ran away, they chased him, and somehow he managed to escape. Somehow he managed to hide in one cave. And then after a while, all the army went back, then only he feel uncomfortable, in the shoes. And he removed the shoes, there's a bullet there. So he was shoot here and fall the bullet down in his shoes. So there's bullet mark is there when we were young. So later when I asked other Rinpoche how this could be, and then he said that maybe because if you are very good in developed stage practice, like practice of deities, visualizing, it is possible. Okay? But I already warned you, don't attach to that. Our goal is to achieve enlightenment, completely free from suffering. If these things happen, it's good. Okay? Now, I have many stories. I don't think we have a time. Yeah, almost finished time. Okay, like that. Oh. So in that way, practicing deities practice, and they are really beneficial, helpful, you know. Not just having this kind of power or abilities, but also to understanding your own nature of mind, you know, which is our ultimate goal, ultimate achievement. Tim was saying that when I told Tim that next retreat we will hold WhiteTara, as soon as I said that, Tim says that, is there pointing out instruction? You said that, right? I said no. There's no pointing out instructions. But anyway, my small experience, when I was, before I received any pointing out instruction, I was doing Vajrakilaya sadhana. You know Vajrakilaya? Vajrakilaya sadhana. And I was doing Vajrakilaya. I was doing Vajrakilaya sadhana, you know. You know Vajrakilaya sadhana, right? Sadhana. So I was doing Vajrakilaya sadhana, and the beginning of Vajrakilaya sadhana, the first thing we should, any sadhana, we should visualize is everything empty. You know? Tongmani Pijur, Om Sumbhavashima, Sadhana Sumbhavashima, Tongmani Pijur. All the phenomena empty. So when I visualize all the phenomena, everything emptiness, I can visualize everything emptiness. But there's something which observe everything empty. You know? Same time there's something which observe everything, all the phenomena empty. You know? So later when I receive pointing out instructions a few times, it's like a reminder, you know, nothing special than that. And so it is possible, you know, with the deities practice. Okay. Then later when we go through sadhana, we will know more about how to visualize. This is enough? A few story, didn't got time. It's okay. We get time, I'll do this, okay? Sunam di panje sivani, tone nipe pranam pamchene, Shivana Shivana Tupai, Sibe Sole Joa Joa Sho. Chanjo Semjo. Oh, okay, English, yeah? By this merit, may omniscience be attained, and may adversary pleasures be conquered. From the ocean of samsara, with the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, may all sentient beings be free. Chanchu Sanjo Rinpoche, Maje Bana Tegurche, Jeva Nyamba Mevayam, Gone Kondo Elvasho. May the precious bodhicitta arise where it has not arisen, and where it has arisen may it not diminish, but increase further and further. Okay. Thank you. Good night.